Astronomy versus astrology. Zodiac signs, retrogrades, rising signs. Are they truly scientific or just nice-sounding stories? In this video, we examine every astrological claim through physics, astronomy, and psychology, and the things you thought were true may be about to fall apart. Before testing astrology, we need to go back in time to see where it came from, how it evolved, and why people felt they needed it. The oldest reliably known origin of astrology is Mesopotamia, modern-day Iraq, Sumer, Akkad, Babylon, and Assyria. Around 3000 to 2000 BCE, no Netflix, no TV, not even Mr.Whizbit videos. So, what were these people supposed to do? They became obsessed with the mysterious lights that appeared at night and vanished by morning. A free entertainment package for everyone, from the young to the old. Of course, look at the sky, almost like hardcore Lord of the Rings fans. With seriousness, patience, over and over again, in full, I watch the stars again today mode. When they saw the planets doing retrograde moves, basically moonwalking backwards across the sky, they started connecting the dots. Some of these lights change direction at certain times, and it feels like something important is happening. I mean, who wouldn't watch Jupiter moonwalking and immediately think, yup, someone is definitely sending us a message? But in the beginning, astrology wasn't really a totally belief system. It was more like, we don't have Google Calendar, so I guess we'll schedule life using the sky. Back then, astronomy and astrology were like twin siblings, but once they grew up, well, let's just say their paths went in very different directions. The Babylonian astronomers looked at the sky and imagined it as a 360-degree circle. Then they said, let's slice it into 12 pieces. Like a pizza, but with extra star topping. Each slice was 30 degrees. And just like that, the Zodiac was born. Then they noticed that some constellations became more visible during certain seasons. And that's when people started giving meanings to these sky patterns. If Virgo showed up in the sky, time for harvest. If Aries appeared, spring is coming. Newborn lambs, new life, everything waking up again. So the meanings of the zodiac signs were actually based directly on the weather and the seasons. Over time, things escalated. The sky is influencing us. The gods are sending messages from above. This idea slowly took shape and matured. Back then, every great king had a personal court astrologer. Their rank was almost equivalent to a minister. Seriously. Because no one wanted their grain ruined, their dams overflowing, or their royal feet getting soaked in a surprise flood. In ancient times, the harsh winter floods weren't explained as just nature doing its thing. All the blame was thrown onto the gods. For example, Enki, the god of wisdom, fresh water, and practical solutions, basically the ancient world's engineer. Since Enki was linked to both water and knowledge, people imagined him holding a big bucket, not just pouring water, but pouring wisdom over humanity. And voila! Say hello to the original inspiration for the modern Aquarius symbol. Alexander's march to the east wasn't just about conquering lands. It was a massive exchange of ideas. Wherever he went, libraries, scholars, and new sciences followed. And for the first time, Eastern and Western wisdom met face to face. Philosophy, astronomy, and mystical traditions blended. And astrology became a product of this great cultural fusion. When this great cultural fusion happened, astrology went through a huge transformation. Mesopotamian astrology was completely state-focused. Kings, wars, harvests, floods, famine. Basically weather, seasons, and the fate of the entire kingdom. There was no concept of the individual. Greek philosophy, on the other hand, asked totally different questions. Who is the individual? What is the soul? How does a person connect with the cosmos? And they brought math, logic, and geometry into the picture. When these two worlds merged, astrology shifted from public prophecy to something personal. Individual birth charts, fate, personality, and eventually even love and relationship readings. During the Hellenistic period, astrology took a new shape. This is when the 12-house system and the idea of the ascendant were invented. Suddenly, a person wasn't defined only by their sun sign anymore. You could be a Leo, but if your rising sign was Pisces, you were seen more like a Pisces on the outside. In other words, your ascendant became your cosmic first impression. In the Hellenistic period, the system of planetary rulerships was established. In this new framework, Mars, the planet of war and fire, became the ruler of Aries. Venus, Aphrodite, associated with beauty and abundance, became the ruler of Taurus. These assignments formed a major foundation of modern Western astrology. Leo was given to the sun because their symbols matched perfectly. The sun represents power, brightness, and life. And Leo symbolizes leadership, confidence, and a warm, radiant energy. Tetrabiblos was written in the 2nd century CE by the astronomer Ptolemy. He didn't create new astrology. He simply collected Mesopotamian, Egyptian, and Greek ideas into one system. His goal was to make astrology look scientific. So he assigned rules to planets, traits to zodiac signs, and wrapped everything in a mathematical framework. Because of this, Tetrabiblos became the main authority for centuries, but the twins grew up and took completely different paths. Copernicus revolutionized science by showing that the Earth is not the center of the universe. Then Newton came along and explained the laws of motion and gravity, delivering the final blow. These two men pulled the heavens out of prophecy and placed them firmly into the hands of real physics. Think of the universe like a couch. When a heavy person sits down, the cushion sinks and creates a dip. A smaller person nearby slides toward it. Space works the same way. A massive object bends space-time. Planets don't orbit the sun because it pulls them, but because the sun warps space around itself. And that's exactly why the inner planets spin around way faster than the outer ones. Or let's say they have no choice but to keep up the speed. For example, we can clearly observe this relationship between Mars and Earth. Or, in what astrology calls retrograde, we can watch planets like Mars or Jupiter appear to move in strange zigzag patterns across the seasons. Now switch to a top-down view of the solar system, watching the planets follow their elliptical orbits. Imagine we're observing from Earth. You place an imaginary point in the sky. From this angle, one thing becomes obvious. Earth is closer to the sun, so it moves much faster than Mars, like a sprinter running on the inner track, while Mars jogs on the outer one. As we approach Mars, pass beside it, and begin to overtake it. Something strange appears in the sky. Mars seems to move forward, then suddenly slide backwards. But it's just an optical illusion. Mars never actually moves in reverse. We only think it does because we're the faster one lapping it. In short, think of it like two cars racing in space. This effect can happen between any two planets. It doesn't have to involve Earth. That's why different planets appear to have their own retrograde motions. Astrology is considered a pseudoscience because it simply doesn't align with physics. And even though some still try to label it as science, let's be honest, it's a fun hobby at best, nowhere near an actual scientific discipline. Because the universe runs on four fundamental forces: gravity, electromagnetism, and the strong and weak nuclear forces. And the first step to understanding gravity is the inverse square law. The gravitational pull between two objects drops extremely fast as distance increases. So when a planet moves even a little farther away, its effect doesn't just weaken, it decreases by the square of that distance. Then Einstein enters the scene. Massive objects bend space-time, and other bodies move within this curved landscape. The motions of planets are explained entirely by these physical laws. Astrology loves to jump in right here. Jupiter is enormous. It could fit about 1,300 Earths inside. So it must have a huge influence on us. That's why people came to believe that Jupiter has a magnifying power, bringing abundance and prosperity. It sounds nice in simple logic, but that's not how science works. The moon can generate ocean tides several meters high. Over time, it has even slowed Earth's rotation and helped keep our axis stable, and this is all coming from a tiny satellite. The Earth is about 81 times more massive than the moon. If the moon is this influential, then Jupiter must affect us even more. But here's the part that gets overlooked. Jupiter is extremely far away, on average about 600 million kilometers from Earth. And remember what we learned earlier. Gravitational force decreases with the square of the distance. So as the distance grows, the pull doesn't just shrink, it collapses dramatically. To give a sense of how huge that distance truly is, on our imaginary cosmic highway, a car driving at just 100 kilometers per hour would reach the moon in about 5 months. But getting to Jupiter would take almost 9 centuries. If a 100-kilo friend gets closer than about 15 centimeters, their gravity on you becomes stronger than Jupiter's. In fact, at birth, your doctor's body mass affected you more than any planet ever could. The Sun is so enormous that about 1.3 million Earths could fit inside it. In terms of volume, it can also hold roughly 1,000 Jupiters. So comparing the Sun to any other object in the solar system is almost meaningless. This immense mass warps space-time into such a deep well that the planets simply cannot escape it. Next to the Sun, Jupiter is like a tiny raindrop, and the pull the Sun exerts on us is about the same as holding a 48-gram egg in your hand. So if the Sun only pulls on us with the weight of an egg, why don't we fly off into space? Because Earth is falling toward the Sun at the same time we move forward in our orbit. We're in a state of continuous freefall around the Sun. And although the Sun is by far the strongest external gravitational influence on Earth, its pull is still about 1,600 times weaker than Earth's own gravity holding us to the ground. Returning to astrology. In blind tests, people can't distinguish their own birth chart from a random one. Their accuracy is basically the same as a coin toss. Earth's axis is tilted by 23.5 degrees. That's what creates the seasons. But Earth also wobbles like a spinning top, a slow motion called precession. This wobble takes about 26,000 years to complete and gradually shifts the positions of the constellations in the sky. The zodiac was created in Babylon by dividing the sky into 12 equal slices, each 30 degrees wide. Over 2,000 years, this wobble has shifted the zodiac by an entire sign, about 30 degrees. So when astrology says the sun is in Aries, the sun is actually in Pisces today. And of course, this shift applies to all the other zodiac signs as well. The entire zodiac was designed for the northern hemisphere. Its constellations and seasonal meanings only make sense there. But the southern hemisphere sees a completely different sky. Some zodiac constellations are barely visible or not visible at all. In other words, the sky that astrology is based on doesn't even exist for half of the planet. December 21st marks winter there, and the goat, known for surviving harsh conditions, became the perfect symbol for cold and endurance. But in the southern hemisphere, that same day is peak summer. The another crack in the zodiac came with Uranus. Until 1781, no one even knew it existed. And suddenly a brand new planet appeared beyond Saturn, breaking every old astrological rule. Then in 1846, Neptune arrived, the only planet ever discovered by math. Astronomers calculated where it should be, and boom, a huge blue giant was exactly there. And finally in 1930, tiny Pluto showed up, smaller than our moon, yet astrology treated it like a cosmic powerhouse. Updated the system the only way they could by looking at what was happening in society at the time of each discovery. Uranus appeared during the French Revolution, so they labeled it rebellion and freedom. And tiny Pluto showed up in 1930, just as the atomic age began. So they assigned it destruction, power, and death. But again, these meanings came entirely from Northern Hemisphere history, not from the sky itself. For decades, astrology treated Pluto as a powerful planet. But science tells a very different story. In the outer solar system, there are hundreds of objects larger or heavier than Pluto: Eris, Haumea, Makemake, Quaoar, and many more. In fact, astronomers estimate millions of similar bodies in the Kuiper Belt. So if Pluto is supposed to shape your personality, then all these other bodies should matter too. But adding them would make astrology collapse into chaos, which shows how disconnected the system is from the real structure of the sky. Astrology has no central authority, no leader, no unified rules, just a patchwork of traditions that evolve differently around the world. And when the field tried to gain scientific legitimacy, the answer was clear. In 1975, 186 scientists, including Nobel laureates, signed the Objections to Astrology statement, declaring that astrology fails scientific testing and cannot be considered a science. It was officially rejected. Astrology may feel like it describes you perfectly, but that feeling comes from psychology, not the stars. First is the Barnum effect. Statements so general they fit almost everyone, yet feel personal. Then the Forer effect. We rate positive descriptions about ourselves as highly accurate. So the wow, that's totally me moment isn't cosmic. It's just how the human mind works. For a claim to be scientific, it must be falsifiable, meaning there has to be a way to prove it wrong. But astrology can't be tested this way. When a prediction fails, explanations like the ascendant shifted, the aspect was weak, or the energy changed can always be added afterward. A claim that can never be proven wrong isn't science. It's a belief system. In short, science has tested astrology with science, and science has shown it is not a science. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit that like button, and share it with the people you care about, so the light of science can reach everyone